Welcome from the Office for Education Policy. If you are a parent of a child in an Arkansas school and their child has taken the ATLAS or one of the different tests within the ATLAS system, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to talk about the grades 3 through high school and end of course exam assessments. And I'll have a separate follow-up video that'll talk about the K3 screeners and that system. Well, parents, you may have gotten an email with information about how to access your children's scores. If you haven't, then stay tuned. And if you have, stay tuned because we're going to talk a little bit about the system of assessments that we call ATLAS that are designed to support teaching and learning. And these tools were designed for very different purposes. They're different from the tools that our schools have been using in prior years. And each of the purposes of the assessment will really drive how you use and understand the information. This system offers so much more information to parents than our previous systems, and that really excites me. You will be able to get your results in the parent portal in one place, and it'll have the capacity to enable you to actually look at information in real time and over time. And they'll be available sooner because they'll be parts of the tools that'll be used to learn more about your child's progress, and you'll be able to see them when they are completed. I'm going to talk about two different parts of the system. First, I'm going to talk about the summative systems check that you probably got information about already. And if you haven't, I'll help you find out how to get it from your school. And that is the grades 3 through high school summative assessment results the test was taken last spring, but because of standard setting in the first year of the test, you haven't been getting the results until just about now. This family portal is new with ATLAS, and it's a place for students and families to take a look at their progress and their scores in the system throughout the year. To view your child's test results, you should have gotten either a letter or an email that gives you an access code. That, along with your child's date of birth and their legal first name, will enable you to sign in. I want you to notice too that there are additional resources that are on the parent portal. There are announcements that you can get. There's a lot. You can also get your information translated into different languages. When you get into the parent portal or the family portal, you're going to have some reports available. So this is a view from grade 3 through high school summative assessment report. And what you see depends on which assessments your child completed and when they completed them. So right now in the family portal, you could have access if your child took a spring 2024 summative assessment for math, ELA, or science in grades 3 through 10 in English Language Arts and grades 3 through 8 in math and science, or algebra, geometry, or biology. Also, there are science interims from last year that might be available in the portal if you want to go take a look and see how your child did in their progress in science last year. Finally, if your child is an English learner, if they are an English speaker of another language, they may have English language proficiency information from screeners and tests in the family portal. One of the biggest differences with ATLAS, comparing this year to 2024 to prior years under the ACT Aspire, is that the scores have different meanings. They're designed for different purposes. So you now have a score and you have information that tells you how well your student is able to demonstrate their mastery and understanding of the grade level standards. Those are the academic content standards that all kids in Arkansas are expected to know and be able to do. This is important because it is a very different meaning from what our tests used to tell us. Under ACT Aspire, it was giving us kind of an idea about how much our kids were on a pathway to getting a certain grade in a college level course based on a connection to the ACT. It was hard to really get good meaning from that. Instead, what we have now is a test that was designed to measure the things that your child is expected to know and be able to do, and you have access to that information. Those are the Arkansas Academic Content Standards. Everything is interpreted in terms of the performance level that your student is achieving. And this is based on the end-of-year expectations. And each of these performance levels that I have listed here also give you a hint about what your child may need, right? So if my student, like in this example, is advanced and they have an advanced understanding of the knowledge and skills that are required of the grade level standards, these students are on track for college and career, and they demonstrate readiness for advanced and accelerated content. So that's important. If your child is there, then you would hope to see that they are actually engaging with either deeper and more enrichment of the grade level standards, or actually accelerating to higher grade level standards. So this also gives you information to help you advocate for the needs of your child in the classroom. A student who has proficient understanding, that's our level 3, has the knowledge and skills and demonstrated the mastery of grade level standards. These students are on track for college and career, and they're ready for content at the next grade level. Students who have a basic understanding of level 2 understanding of grade level standards have the knowledge and skills, but they may not be consistent, or they may not be able to demonstrate them in more complex ways. So that means they may need personalized support and intervention. So as parents, I really want you to have what you need to advocate for your children, and know that a student who is at level 2 is at grade level, just not consistently at grade level, or not able to demonstrate it in more complex ways. Now, this is important because this means your student shouldn't be stuck in remediation. This means your student should get supports in the particular areas that they need it the most. And I'll show you how you will know so you can advocate for them. And then finally, if your child is in level 1, this is a limited understanding. This means your child does need significant support and scaffolding. Scaffolding means a support, a way to kind of bridge the gap so that they can access grade level material. It's so important that we understand these performance levels and what it means for supporting your child's learning throughout the year. So very quickly on this slide, I have the landing page where you can see these results. You can see your student's name, their birthday, their information. You can click to view all the tests in a particular subject, or you can click to download a more detailed report. What you see on this page is very limited, and it just gives you the overall performance level of the student. That just tells you something on the surface. To go deeper, to know what their needs are, we're going to dig a little bit more deeply into this. Just know there's also resources. There are these little toggle buttons at the top if you want to look at how to understand the report. If you want to look at resources for understanding a report, those are all available here. There's also a glossary that you can use to understand some of the terms. I selected mathematics, and you can see that I could easily go into English language arts or science from the tabs at the top. When I select mathematics, I get the same information I saw on the landing page, just in a different orientation, and I can see where my child fell on the larger scale of the assessment, and that still only gives me this information. It just tells me that they have an advanced understanding. Now, if I want to know more, I'm going to click on this detailed report, and that's where the real information is. I clicked on the download button for download the detailed report, and I get the sweet spot. This is the information I really want you to see, because it gives you an explanation of all the performance levels. So if you're wondering, how does where my child relate to the other performance levels, you can get that over here. I do want to stress again that if your student falls within levels 2 and levels 3, that means that they are at grade level at the end of last year. So this particular child was a 4th grader last year. You can see that because at the top it says Atlas Grade 4 Math Summative. They're now enrolled in grade 5, and you can see that this child is going to need some acceleration or advancement in math. If your student falls in these areas, then they're ready for grade level instruction. If they're level 2, they just might need some personalized supports for some of the areas in math that may be not as strong as other areas. So how do you know that? Let's take a deeper look. So here I can see how the students in Arkansas did, the average score being 1,063. My student had 1,083 plus or minus 4. Now, plus or minus 4 is the margin of error for the student. So that student's score could have ranged from a 179 up to a 187. What that means is we're pretty sure if the student took this test again and again and again, they'd fall within that range, which is above the cut point for level 4. So we're pretty confident the student is a level 4 student. I can also see how other students did in my school district. So this particular school district was right at the proficient cut, the 1,060. And so my student was above the score for other students in grade 4 math last year. And then finally within my school, I can see that the score was 1,072 on average across my grade 4 students in the school that my child was in. And so my student here is above the average for their school. Now, there's a little explanation here about that standard error of measurement. That's what I call the margin of error. There's also some information up here that I'll link some resources. This is a quantile measure, so this gives you some information that can help you do more of a national comparison. This information here is more of a state comparison in terms of the average scale score. But where the rubber meets the road is where was my student excelling and where might they need some support. So what you'll see on the second page, and you'll have to scroll down to the second page, I just screenshot it and put it here, is that there are reporting categories. So for grade 4, it's computation and algebraic reasoning, geometry and measurement and data analysis, and number and place value. And I get a sense of whether or not my student was below the standard, above the standard, or whether they kind of were at or near the standard. And this is really about mastery. So over here, what we need to think about is, were they below mastery, at or near mastery, or above mastery in these smaller reporting categories? And then the text here will explain to you what the results mean, where your student was strong, what they could do at grade 4, and then some next steps that you can have for your student. And I love this part of it because this is where you learn more about what you need to advocate for your child in the classroom. So in this case, you can encourage your student to create word problems and to do higher levels of mathematics. In terms of computation and algebraic reasoning, you'll notice each one of these has very specific information for how you can support your child and what you should hope to be seeing your child doing during the day in the classroom for mathematics. So if you learned how to read the math report for the summative, then you'll know a lot about what to get out of the English Language Arts report. One thing to know is that it's composed of reading, writing, and language, so all of that information is provided. On the first page, you have a similar bar that shows where the student is, where their score fell, what performance level they had, and like the previous report in math, you can look at how students in Arkansas did at that grade in this subject, as well as your district and the school for that grade level. On the second page is where you get the details, just like on the math, but these are the details about reading and writing. Again, this wonderful feature of knowing where the student falls. I'm not sure I explained very well what these little charts are under performance. They look like little Star Wars fighters. The point represents your student's score on that reporting category, and the wings represent the confidence band around your student's score. So that's the range your student would fall in if they were to take those same items over and over again. So that's where we feel pretty confident about where a child is. So for this particular student, I'm noticing that reading informational text might be the more difficult thing for them among all the other reporting categories. I can also take a look at their writing. And I note that this child had 7 out of 10 points, and I get information back on where they did well in terms of their writing conventions, their elaboration, etc. So in this case, I might want to do more work with my child, reading articles and discussing how ideas are developed, but doing so with nonfiction. So reading informational text is like reading nonfiction, and reading literary text is like reading the books and stories that you and I still enjoy today. And here I can look at what might be good experiences to provide for my child as we go through the school year in order to build their skills in any area that I'm concerned they might not be as strong. I clicked on the science tab and it looks a little bit different, doesn't it? You can notice that we've got the summative scores here as well as 2 interim scores from last year. So last year there was an interim assessment available in science and some districts were using it. And this particular district used it, and this child, I can tell, has a test from November 9th of last year, February 6th, and then here's their summative in May. And what I can tell from their scores is that they were improving over time. So I've got this scale that moves the student along. Right now, the summative is on a different scale, but starting in 2024-25, the school year we're in right now, those are all going to be on the same scale. So you will be able to see this continuum over time. What's really cool about this is you can go in there and see it right now. If your child is taking interims, it's populating in your family portal. So go take a look and see. What I like about the interims, if your school is using them, you're able to get into the portal and see them as they are completed. So you could actually go in, and now that we're in the window for the early interims in the Atlas system, if your child is taking the interims in English language arts, math, or science, you're able to see their scores when they pop up. And then over time, you're going to be able to look and see, did they make progress? Was their progress similar or different from how other students progressed in the state, the district, or the school? And so this is a lot of very useful information that you have to, again, advocate for and partner with your child's teacher to make sure their needs are being met and to make sure they're getting what they need out of their year. In science for last year's summative, if you downloaded the deeper report, then you're going to see this more detailed student report. And again, it gives you really deep information about how your child did in the various parts of science and what those results mean and the next steps that you can use to partner with your child's teacher and advocate for their learning this year. 2 quick extras. Here are some additional resources for parents. On the left-hand side are things that can help you with the score reports. On the right-hand side are Arkansas's standards. The K-8 Arkansas Learning Targets are the most parent-friendly, but you can also dig into the more teacher-oriented standards if you want to know what the standards are for various courses and grade levels. Also, if you have not received a code from your school, you can request a code so that you can access your parent portal, your family portal, and get your child's test scores. Stay tuned. I'm doing a K-3 screener video for parents next. The K-3 screener has very different information, and there are some caveats. There are some things that are different this year than they will be in the future. So stay tuned and watch for that one if you have a K-3 child who took the screener this year.